Hi, this is Katie Weeks, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I am joining with Miranda Weber over at My Scrappy Life for a virtual crop. And I have the Sketchy Inspiration Challenge. And this basically is where I'm taking a card sketch and making both a scrapbook layout and a card for that sketch. And so if you see here on page 22 of the Stampin' Up! Catalog, the very first sketch is the one that I'm going to do. So I'm going to start with my scrapbook page first, and I will make a companion page for it. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking 2 pieces of cardstock and gutting them so that it has a 1-inch frame all the way around. So I'm slicing from 11 inches up to 1 inch on all 4 sides of both sheets of paper. And that cardstock was Pecan Pie. Next, I'm going to take 2 of the plaid pieces of paper from A Little Latte, and I'm going to slice off a 1/4 inch from 2 sides. So I have 11 3/4 squared. And I think that will be just perfect to put on my pecan pie frame. The next thing I took was some pool party cardstock, and I cut a 6 by 7 inch piece, and I tried a different color, and then I came back and decided ultimately on the Calypso Coral at 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 for that cardstock, and I think those will be nice. And then I am going to cut a whole bunch of other squares from Calypso Coral, from Pool Party, and from Lemon Lolly, and I cut all of them at 3 1/4 inch square. And then after that, I'm going to cut several. I cut, I think, 3 of each of those colors, and you'll see how I lay them back out. This is for my companion page, and I'm actually going to lay them out in the tic-tac-toe or grid style. It's just, for me, it's the very most basic companion page, and it was an easy one to put with this card sketch. Okay, the next thing you see me bring in are some of the different pattern papers from A Little Latte. I did the little cups, the Petal Pink Swirl print, the Lost Lagoon Stripe, the one that looks like little heartstrings, and also the ones that look like coffee splats. And I cut all of those squares at 3 1/2 inches. And I think I cut like 2 of each of those, and I used most of them. So I used these behind the cardstock on that grid style layout. And I do come in with another one. I think it was with that Petal Pink Swirl pattern, and I cut it, must have been 7 1/2 by 5 1/2 to go as a mat on the focal page on the left as well. And then you see across the bottom, I have that. The back of the plaid paper is the tiny little coffee beans, and I had that 1/4 inch strip that I cut off of 2 sides, and so I'm using that to run across the bottom, and you have 2 pieces that run 11 3/4. And then the one print in A Little Latte had these coffee cups, and the die cuts from the stamp set perfectly cut out those cups on the printed paper. I love that those coordinate. So I cut some of those out, and here you can see that coffee bean that's running underneath there goes under the cardstock but above the pattern paper. And then I took some of my scraps and I stamped off some of the cups and some of the little spoons, and I will be die cutting all of these out. And I also did the little French press from the die cuts as well. And now I'm coming in with my liquid glass, and I filled in some of the coffee and the French press. And once it dries, it gives this wet look to the coffee. And I just love what that brings to this. And then in the 3 places that I have clusters, the lower left of the left page and the other 2 squares, I stamped some random images. And then I created this tag in Design Space. So our theme for this virtual crop is Go See Do. And I love to go to coffee shops. And there's one I want to go to, and it has this little vintage van type thing inside it that they serve coffee. It's actually at a flower house, and so I want to go there with a friend and have coffee. So I'm already getting my scrapbook page laid out, and you can't really see the pecan pie frame around so well on this page, but it does add a real nice dimension to it. So isn't that adorable? And I did tie some of that burlap polka dot ribbon on the tag. I didn't tie it, I stapled it actually. Okay, let's come back to that card sketch again. And what I did was this basic layout, and I actually cut that swirl, Petal Pink Swirl paper to 5 3/8 by, no, 4 3/8 by 5 5/8. And I sent it through with an embossing folder that looked like wood grain, because I thought the swirls in it kind of mimicked coffee. And then I cut some other layers, and I did some basic stamping, and then I trimmed it down to fit my card. And you can see the whole thing assembled here. Isn't it adorable? And again, I brought some of that burlap ribbon in that had the polka dots on it, and I trimmed some of that paper to fit on the flap of my envelope. I actually had a close to my heart die that perfectly fit that, and I stamped on my envelope a little here. And I think I want to give you a closer look at that card and what it actually looks like with the embossing. Can you see that embossing? It really does add to that whole swirl effect. And I cut that embossed layer a little larger, and then I trimmed it down afterwards because it shrinks slightly when you emboss it. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more crafty inspiration.